Hello everyone. We're up to the very exciting part is made it all the way down the leg and the foot to the toe, and we can see here where we did our shaping with the slips, knit one, slip, slip, knit two together, and knit two together, knit one, and that shapes it up towards the toe. I've got 12 stitches left on the needle, which is what I need to have for my recipe. And we're ready to graft this toe. So that grafting means we're going to join these two together, and it should look fairly seamless, and then we're done with the toe. So this will be grafting the toe and weaving in ends. So you're going to leave a decent tail on your sock, and we're going to pick up our darning needle and thread the needle. Now we have to do a setup row first to get ready so that we secure the stitches, and then we can start grafting. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make sure this yarn is at the back and comes around underneath towards the front, so it's not getting caught up with the needles. I'm going to move these stitches back up the needles again just to make it a bit easier, but just careful that you don't let them slip off. So for this first setup row, we're going to take the darning needle, and we're going to do the first stitch as if we're going to purl. So we're going to come in from the right to the left at the front, and we're going to pull that through, but we're not going to drop the stitch off the needle. Now we're going to go to the back, and we're going to go through the back needle as if to knit. So from the left to the right, and pull that through, just making sure it doesn't get, see how it's got caught here? I'm just going to pop that round because we don't want it to get caught on the needle, otherwise it'll make another stitch. Right, so we're pulling that secure. Now we're going to start the actual grafting. So you need to make sure obviously that you've got an even number of stitches on both needles, and we're going to graft these together as if we're knitting, or knitting and purling. So this row is treated like the purl row, and this is the knit row, okay, like as if it's the front and back of your work. So we're going to knit this row by putting our needle in through the front as if to knit, and pull it up, just making sure it's not caught on anything. You can give it a little tug, and then we're going to pop that stitch off the needle and just give it a little gentle tug. And now we're going to come through the stitch on the back as if to purl. Oops, see how we've got it caught there? We just need to pop that over because we don't want to make that another stitch. So we've pulled that through as if to purl, and we're going to pop that. I just did that wrong. Let me undo. This is what happens when I get ahead of myself. Just going to pop that back. We're just going to reverse, just ignore this. Okay, so before we do the back stitch, we need to always secure the front stitch. So after we knit this one off, we now come to this next stitch on the needle, on the front needle, and we're going to treat it as if we're purling. And we're going to purl that one, but leave the stitch on the needle. Now we're going to come to the back, and we're going to purl that stitch and pull it through, and then slip that one off the needle off the back and just give that a tug. So now we're going to do a knit stitch on the back one and leave that on the needle, and we're going to come to the front and knit and slip that off the front needle. Okay, and give that a little tug. Now we're going to purl the front one that's at the top to secure it, and then we're going to go to the back and purl that one, and then we're going to slip that off the needle, give it a little tug, and we're going to knit that one and then we're knitting the front one and pulling the front one off the needle. Then at the front we're going to purl to secure it, and then purl the back needle and slip that stitch off. And we're just going to work our way all the way across till we're at the end. Yep. So I've now up to the second last needle, so I'm just going to, I've just dropped off the back needle a purl stitch, so I'm just going to knit through that one. And now I'm going to knit through the front one and slip that off, just careful not to lose the other needle. Now there we go, pull that, and now I'm going to come round, and this, where I just pulled that off, I'm just going to come back here and purl that one at the back and slip that off, and we're now at the end. So we've now grafted our stitches fairly seamlessly and secured the toe. So what we need to do now is weave in our ends. So I'm just going to, now don't worry too much because we're going to pull this through, but I'm just going to come through to the center. You'll feel that it's not sticking out on either side. I'm just going to pop that down. You can see it's just poked through there, just pull it back. And I'm going to pop my hand all the way in and grab that needle, making sure it's not caught on the back side, and just pop that through. And that will just gently tug it, and that makes it nice and smooth. So now we're going to turn this inside out, all the way out, and what we're going to do is weave in the ends. So I'm just going to make sure my hand's in here so that I know I'm not going to go through to the back. And what I usually do with these ones, because it's all sort of purl bumps, sorry for bumping the camera there, I'm just going to come through and I'm just going to almost duplicate stitch my way across. So just going up, and if it's thicker yarn like this one, you can skip a stitch. So I've come up this one, you can come down this one, and you don't need to pull it tight or anything. And I just do that for a few stitches this way. Don't be too precise, it doesn't matter if you go down a row. You're just wanting to make sure that's woven in. Then I come up and maybe take it up a notch, and then I'm going to come back down this way. So we've come over from the left to the right. I'm going to go back over towards this way just to make sure it's really secure. Oops. There we go. Doesn't matter, don't be precise, just wherever it looks neatest. And you don't want to make too big a bump along here because that's where your toe is. So that's it, and then I'll just do another one here and down here. Now before I cut the yarn, I just want to pull this back through and make sure it looks tidy and it's not gone through the other side looking all messy. No, can't see where I've woven it in. So we'll take that back around and we'll just cut this short. There you go, that's the ends woven in on the toe. So now we might want to weave in the end. We don't worry about this one because we're going to pick up the stitches for the heel in a minute. But we might want to weave in this end now because we know this is now our front and back because we're going to be picking up stitches here, so we don't really need this one anymore. So we come to our yarn that we started at the beginning of the round. We get our darning needle, just pull the other yarn out and thread this on. And what I find is the neatest here is I just come and work my way in and out, left and right, down here and then back up here, and that's all you need to do. Sorry, in and out down here and then back up this way to weave in the end. So I'll just come in and, oops, I'll just pull that out. Hey. Okay, start again. So I just work my way left and right. Don't have to go all the way down. Just do a few, come across. No one's going to see this part because it's inside the cuff. And I don't necessarily go all the way to the top. And I just double check that all looks neat. Okay. And that's our cuff woven in. So now the only ends we'll have left is when we do the heel is to weave in the ends for this one. Right, so now we're going to pick up the stitches for the heel, so I might do a separate video for that. All right, we're now at the crucial moment of picking up our stitches for the heel, and we're going to knit the heel the same as we did the toe. So super simple, seems a bit complicated, but we've put our bulb pin in. I accidentally took the one out here. But the most important one is having the one here at the start of where we cast on these waste yarn stitches. So we're going to pick up with the cuff facing towards you and the toe away from you. Very important so that the legs are going in the right direction, otherwise it'll look weird. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it'll just be obvious of where you've picked up the heel. So this is where we did our first stitch in the round because we put the bulb pin through it. So I'm just going to pop my needle through there and take this bulb pin out, but keep it handy in case we found that we've dropped a stitch somewhere. We need to pick it up quick. So right, what we're going to do is we're going to come along and pick up every second leg of our stitches here. So each of these V's is a stitch. This is our first stitch, so we're going to skip this one and go to this one, skip this one and go to this next one, and so forth as we pick up all the way across till we get to the end, and then we'll count to make sure we've got the amount. So the amount of needles you had originally on your thing, which for me was 52 in total, so 26 per needle. I'm going to be looking to pick up 26 along this way and 26 the other way. So you skip a leg in the V and then you come up to the next one, skip, and then next one, skip this one, next one, and we're just going to come along. And it can get a bit tricky as you get closer to the end because the stitches are bunched up, but just take your time. And so you're just picking up that leg that's just below the contrast yarn, okay? It's directly below it. And this is going to be magic when you do this. You're going to be like, oh my God, I'm so amazing. I'm a superhero of knitting. So, nearly there. Just coming. The last one can be a bit tricky, but as long as you've counted, you've got the right amount of stitches, you should be right. Oops, get that on. I'm just going to shuffle these along a bit. Now, what have I done here? I'm just going to pop that back just to make sure I picked up the right leg. I don't want to have stuffed that up. So you can easily just slip it back and start again if you think you've missed a stitch. And that's why it's good to keep your bulb pins handy, because when we start to pull this undone, if you feel like you've lost a stitch, you can easily grab the bulb pin and secure it, and then I'll show we can, you know, pick up a stitch. I'll show you how to do that. I'm not sure if I'll do that in this video or a separate one, depends if I drop a stitch or not. So every second leg, all the way across. This is the most tedious part, I would say, apart from casting on. Once you do this, you'll be like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Right, so we've got to the end, supposedly, so let's count. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, 24. So I've got 2 more stitches. See, it's just popping around the corner there. 24, 25, 26. And I can tell that's where, because it's the last stitch in the row where the yarn pops out. So just going to pop these around onto the cable. So now we've picked up those stitches, so I'm just going to double check. 2, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, 24, 26. Cool. So now we're going to flip and we're going to swizzle it around, and we're going to start from this side again, and we're going to be looking to come directly at the stitch below. See how that's lined up? So we're going to do 1 every second leg again. See how the legs line up, top and bottom? 1, 2, so you can see top and bottom, they look connected, they're vertically in the same spot. So you can just come along and do every second leg like that we just did across to pick up all those stitches. Oh, I just realised I'm not going. So there we go. Now let me just check, because I've missed one. There we go. So that one, that one, that one, because we're looking for that top and bottom to match up. So that one and that one. That one and that one. Just gently slide that along, and we're almost there. So close. And this is stretchy, so it does help when you can stretch it out a bit as you pull it to pick up those final stitches. And we're going to go for that one, and we're going to just pop this through and just check we've got 26 here, or however many number that you had on each needle. 2, 4, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, 24, 26, 27. So I've got 27 there. So what have I done? Oh, I've picked up that last stitch wrong. So there we go. So see here, when I pull this through, you can see now that each leg on top and bottom is vertically the same, in the same spot all the way along. See that? So that tells me we've picked up everything correctly. But do have your bulb pin handy just in case. And now we're going to start to unpick this. So I'm just going to pop it back around to where we began with the cuff facing me, and I'm going to get my darning needle, and we're going to start to unpick this. So you're just gently pulling that contrast yarn out. Sometimes it's a little tough. Just be gentle. And then you should start to see the hole will open up and you go, oh, there's no loose stitches here, right? So we haven't dropped any. So just gently pull those V's out in the contrast colour, just making sure you're not catching the other main colour. And as you go along, you can also shorten this, because we're not weaving in the end or anything. You can shorten it to make it easier to go through. So I can come along here and just give that a snip to shorten it. Just make sure you don't cut your knitting. And then keep going along till we get all the way to the end. It's quite therapeutic actually. I find it quite relaxing. This is funny because I'm left-handed, but I'm using my right hand to unpick it for this video. Let's cut that again. We're almost at the end, and you can keep checking and go, oh yeah, there's no drop stitches, otherwise you'd see it loose wanting to fall down. Oops, pull that. Right, here we go. Oh, there's my bulb pin. It slipped in the back. Tricky. I thought, well, I didn't remember taking that off. So now we've pulled out that spare yarn, and if you haven't already done so, you can pull out this bulb pin. We don't need that. And now this is where you can just do a double check. Yep, no loosey-goosey stitches that are falling out. If they are, just pop a bulb pin, and when we get round there, we could pick it up, but this is what it should look like. So we've got like a nice hole, and you could even try it on at this point because your heel can now fit through here, so you can see that the foot's long enough. But otherwise, I'm just going to pull that off, and now I'm going to grab my main colour and leave a little tail, and we're going to start knitting the heel. So what we're going to do is on either end, on either needle, I'm going to pick up a stitch before I start here and knit it, knit along here, pick up a stitch at the end and knit that before I swap to the other needle, and then pick up a stitch again here, go along, pick up an extra stitch. So you'll have an extra 2 stitches per needle, and then we'll start doing the decreases exactly the same as what we did for this until we get to the same number of stitches or whatever's recommended in the pattern there, and then you'll be grafting off following the previous video, just as you did for the toe. So what I'm going to do is pull this around, and first I'm just going to slip those down a bit. I'm going to pull that out, and I'm going to be knitting just along here just to grab a V. It just means that there'll be less chance of a hole here, a gap, which you can weave in the ends anyway around there, but just makes it nicer if it's already done. So I'm just going to, oops, pop that through as if to knit through that V. Pop this on, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky sometimes. So pull that tight, and then you're pulling this side to try and loosen it off the needle. Oh, it's a bit tricky. Ay, ay, ay. It's harder when you can't see because it's, there we go. So we've picked up that stitch. So now we're just going to knit our way along till we get to the other end. Now, if you find that your legs are a bit back to front, you can also, if they feel tight there, you can actually knit through the back loop for this first round. Okay. So I'm just going to do that because it feels a bit tight. Just knitting through the back loop. So instead of going up here at the front, I'm just coming down through the back, and that just brings the legs round how they like to sit. You only need to knit through the back loop for this first round if the legs feel like they're twisted. Right, now before we finish, we're just going to, it's a bit awkward, but we're going to just try and pick up a stitch here, like that. Knit that one. Oops. That didn't go how I wanted it. Okay. So that's my stitch. I just knit off a stitch, see? So I would have been dropping the stitch. Let me just pick that up and knit that again. Sorry, I slipped that off when I was trying to knit the last one in the, pick up the extra stitch. So this is the trickiest part, just anywhere here. Doesn't have to be a V. There we go. We've just added an extra stitch on, and now we're going to swap around like we normally would in the magic loop and come to the front needle again. And before we start this row, just like at the front, we're going to pick up and knit an extra stitch. There we go. And then knitting through the back loop. Work our way back to the other end. I'll come back to you then. So I'm just at the end. I'm just going to pick up one more stitch. There we go. And pull that through. So now we're going to follow the pattern we did for the decreases for the toe, exactly the same. So until we have the right number of stitches for our pattern, to graft off, so as you did for the toe. So we've got extra 4 stitches in total. Not to worry, it just means an extra round of decreases. So you're just going to follow the pattern and go now, knit 1, slip, slip, knit 2 together, knit the way along, knit 2 together, knit 1 at the end, and repeat across here, knit the next round, and then do the decreases, knitting in between each round of decreases until, well, I'll be doing it until I've got about 12 stitches on each needle, and then I'll be grafting it off. So you can follow the previous video for that pattern. And congratulations, once you've done this, you will have finished your sock, and you'll be able to cast on the second sock before you lose your momentum, and before you know it, you'll have a pair of socks to wear. Okay, thank you for joining me for this tutorial, and I might do a short video at the end just showing the finished sock. Hi everyone, I've now finished the first sock. So I just finished the heel decreases and wove in the ends, so this sock is now finished. Hopefully yours is too. I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial and that you're all ready to cast on the second sock, so you'll have a pair to wear soon. Let me know in the comments down below if you're knitting this, whatever time. Doesn't have to be at Vlogmas, could be 2 years from now. I'd love to hear from you, and please tag me on Instagram or Facebook if you happen to share it on there. I'd love to see it. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you next time.